Okay, so let's talk about the last two terms here, and then we'll kind of piece this all together. There's a vocabulary term called phenotype. Phenotype is the physical characteristic, or said even more simply, the trait. The reason I like using physical characteristic is physical phenotype. So what do I mean by physical characteristic? I mean your hair color. If I actually say brown hair, blonde hair, and blonde can be spelled with an E or without it, red hair, that would be your phenotype. If I said eye color, the actual color of your eyes, brown, blue, green. If I said height, tall, short, these are your phenotypes, the actual words that describe the trait you have. Now, the other word is genotype. Your genotype is the pair of alleles or genes that code for the trait. So for example, and the way I like to think about this is genotype, genes. Genotype is also like the letter G, and it's going to be your pair of letters like we were talking about before. So for example here, if we're talking about, let me just give you some examples of phenotypes. Big T, big T, big T, little t, little t, little t, big A, little a, big A, big A, little a, little a. Those are genotypes. Now, how would this be asked of you? So let me move this up a little bit, move the pen to the side here. Let's say I said to you, there's a phenotype of brown eyes. And I also have to tell you that brown is dominant. What is a possible genotype? So there's two ways you can show brown eyes. But I'm telling you the phenotype because that's the physical characteristic. That's the word describing the trait. The genotype would be the pair of letters. So remember, you get one from dad and one from mom. And in this case, brown is dominant. So big B is dominant, right? So I could be big B, or big B, little b. Now, if brown is dominant, then blue has to be recessive. So blue is recessive. And for a recessive trait, we have to use a little letter. So what if I said the phenotype is blue eyes? You would then tell me the genotype is little b. So this is phenotype in this column here. And this is the genotype column. Let's try another one. So remember, phenotype is the word. Genotype is the pair of letters. Let's say now we're going to talk about, let's talk about flowers. Let's say having a red flower is dominant and having white flowers is recessive. So we always want to use the letter of the dominant trait. So this would be big R would represent red and little r would represent white. What if I were to say to you, the genotype, I'm going to make a little chart here. And I said the genotype is little r. And you have to provide, and I'll do this for all three, you have to provide the phenotype. So if I am little r, am I white or red for my phenotype, physical characteristic? This is white because there's no capital letter here, so it has to show the recessive trait. Now, big R, little r, anytime there's a capital letter, it has to show the dominant trait. So this is red. because the capital letter squishes the lowercase letter. Two big letters, oh, too big, I have no choice but to be read. Now I can do this the other way. So let's pick another trait. I'm gonna move this up one more time and then we're gonna be finished. So now I have, remember, phenotype is the word, genotype is the letters. So now I'm going to give you some genotypes and you got to give me some phenotypes. So let's say, and I didn't give you the trait, so let me put the trait down here. Let's say we want to talk about hamsters, okay? And big B is black fur. So is that dominant or recessive? Dominant, super. And little b is white fur. And so that's the recessive trait. So let's say I ask you to show me how we could show black fur. And now the thing is, with these dominant traits, you have to be able to show it two ways. And then, how could I show white fur? So how could I show black fur here? Well, I know the easiest way is two big B's. That's the easiest way. What's the other way I could show it? Remember, anytime a big letter is present, it's going to show the dominant trait. So if I put a big letter, now I already used too big, so that's not an option anymore, but maybe Dad gave a big B and Mom gives a little b. For white fur, there's only one way to show recessive traits, and that's going to be little b, little b. Now I can even take it one more step further and ask you how to show, let's say we're talking about height again, so tall, short. I can say something like this, how can I show a hybrid? How could I show a homozygous dominant? How could I show a pure dominant genotype? And I can actually say, give me the genotypes, okay? And so now you would have to tell me a hybrid is a mix. Hybrid means mix, big T, little t. Homozygous dominant, because you see the word dominant, that's going to be your key to know, oh, it's talking about dominant. It's going to be both here. It doesn't really matter what this word is. You're only going to see this written this way, homozygous dominant, or maybe pure dominant. And then, so pure dominant is here. And I can even try, what about pure recessive? And that would be little t, little t. If you have any questions after you watch these videos, it is so important that you send a message so that we can help you. Have a great day and try the worksheet. If you get stuck on the worksheet, go back to the notes and then ask for help because there's going to be a quiz at the end of the week.